Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Hello everyone, and today we are with Sharon, an amazing entrepreneur that is gonna share something with you outstanding. So Sharon, can you please introduce yourself and tell a little bit more what you do?
Yeah, Sean Sheppard, I'm the managing partner at U+. We're a global corporate venture builder. We build tech startups for large enterprises across the globe. We also have our own venture studio where we're focused on building AI technologies.
Wow.
And I've spent 30 years as a serial tech entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, had 3 exits, also had 2 very expensive and valuable learning experiences along the way. I then moved to the investment side and did 3 venture funds and the world's first product market fit accelerator called GrowthX, and even a school to train people to work in the startups in Silicon Valley called GrowthX Academy. And about 4 years ago, I wasn't going to raise another fund. I got pulled by a portfolio company into helping a large enterprise launch their first technology product, a traditional industrial company. They asked me to help them commercialize this in partnership with my portfolio company. We did. We had a lot of success. Started building a lot of digital businesses for corporations as a result of that, and became a partner at U+ about 4 years ago.
Wow, that's fantastic. So we want to know about your first venture, Sharon. How you end up being a tech entrepreneur? What happened? Are you a software developer?
No, I can't even spell HTML.
Me too.
I grew up in Silicon Valley in technology. I was very fortunate. My father was a vice president of technology and manufacturing at Intel Corporation for 20 years.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough to grow up around some of the big captains of industry in giants in Silicon Valley: Andy Grove, Gordon Moore, Bob Noyce, Paolo Nolini, Mike Splinter, um, you know, um, a lot of Pat Gelsinger, um, people who have all been, very successful CEOs and executives in that world. And um, so I was never intimidated by technology. I was never intimidated by change. It's just sort of in my DNA. I'm the only one in my family that didn't go to work as an employee in a large company like Intel. I'm the black sheep entrepreneur.
Wow.
Done my own thing. But what I do love about technology is the ability to leverage it to help as many people as you possibly can. And that's always been attractive to me. I am the sales and marketing guy. I'm the business person. I am not the tech person.
Hmm.
I do have, I think, developed a skill to translate between humans and engineers, how to solve problems using technology. And that's been my strength. So I've always been able to, not always, but I've always tried to partner with really strong tech people who agree with me that developing the market is more important than developing the product, and focusing on the problem and the customer instead of the product and the technology is more important, because the majority of startups fail, and they fail because of people in markets, not because of products and technology. It's never been easier to, especially with digital, it's never been easier to build and launch products. But as a result, it's also never been more difficult to get traction for those products in the market, because you've got to be able to differentiate yourself around a clearly defined use case. And it's very easy to get distracted and seduced by every opportunity and idea. And one day you wake up and you're out of resources, and, you got to shut down. So, it's about identifying a big problem that you can solve really well in a market that's big enough for you to be able to scale and be successful. And it doesn't have to be a unicorn or a dragon or anything like that. It can be a nice lifestyle opportunity, because if you can support customers, make them successful, and in turn employ people and support their families and contribute in a positive way to society and to the economy, then I think to me, that's the definition of success.
100%, Sharon, and let's dig deep in that, because in your opinion, right, a lot of here in London, there is a big movement in tech. I'm deeply involved in tech. I have a lot of friends, yeah. And here's the thing, right, and this is the issue that we find with tech pros again and again, that the technology guys, right, the software developers, they are, because they are developers, they are in love with the product, they are in love with the software, and all the resources go to the product, to the software. And then you realize that until you don't sell it, you have nothing.
That's right.
And so in your opinion, and I'm gonna, this question, in your opinion, Sharon, if when it comes to tech companies, marketing and sales, do you think it's 50% tech, 50% marketing and sales, 40% tech, 60% marketing and sales, or 30% tech and 70 marketing and sales?
No, it's 80-20. It's 80%
Wow,
marketing and sales.
really?
Sure. I mean, the
Wow, I
whole,
learned something today.
if you,
80-20. Okay, go ahead.
well, I'll give you an example. So the most successful serial entrepreneurs I've seen in the Valley aren't wedded to any product or technology. They're wedded to markets and problems that could be solved. And I'll give you a good example. Inside of a lot of venture funds, they will take exited entrepreneurs that have helped them make money in the past, and they will pay them a stipend to sit in an office and figure out what the next big thing is. And how do they do that? They go out and they talk to people. They talk to decision makers and big organizations with big budgets and try and understand where their largest challenges are. And every time you solve one problem with technology, it creates a whole another set of problems that have to get solved. And that's never going to change. So they're very much focused on identifying white space opportunities where they can create differentiation and a moat around them by leveraging the networks that they've developed over their life, plus the venture capitalists that are supporting them to identify that. And sometimes it takes some years to figure that out. And then and only then do they start to try and create a solution. And the last thing they do is build. The first thing they do is clearly define the problem in the customer and the use case and the value that can be created by solving that problem. And then from there, then they start to build in support of that with the strategic idea that if they do this, others will want that as well, because if this person's having that problem, his peers around the world are having the same problem. And that's the approach that I found to be most successful. You can invest a lot of time and intelligence in getting yourself to what we call problem solution fit, where you can find a solution to a big problem, and then from there you start to build, and you only build what's needed to solve that problem at that moment, and then of course over time that will grow. But in my view, 80% of your time, money, and resources should be spent on that, because that makes the build part so much faster and easier, because you get to do it right the first time.
Okay, so it's all about finding what is this big problem that we need to solve and develop a technology around that, right?
Correct. And most product founders and tech people, like you said, and bless them all, they're all wonderful. People tend to revert to what they know and what they're comfortable with. And tech folks are comfortable with their computers and their code and their screens and their laboratories, and they're not talking to humans. They're coming up with ideas and they're falling in love with solutions instead of problems. And as a result, they end up investing a lot of time and money and find out that there's no market need for what they're doing, or the timing in the market is wrong, or they're not functionally executing well with the teams that they've selected to build around them. People and markets, that's the reason why these things fail. It's not the product and tech.
Wow. And then Sean, so tell us about your biggest challenge that you faced when you had your first venture, right? Your first company.
Yeah.
I understand, I wrote your bio that you already achieved 3 exits.
Yeah.
Tell us about the first one, right? Which is, I believe, the most challenging.
Well, I think so. I think there's a common theme in my experience, and that is, when you think about building a business, you think about the team, the market, the model, the traction, and the differentiation. And through that rubric or that set of criteria, the thing that's most important is the team. Getting the right people on the bus that that you can trust and that you can communicate well with, and that will put the interests of the customer and the problem ahead of their own personal needs, with whom you share similar values and work ethic, and grit and determination, and the current this what I call the entrepreneurial DNA is what's most critical. Because I've seen incredible ideas, incredible products fail more often than not, and it's usually because of the team. And I've also seen average ideas pivot into amazing ideas because of the team. And I think that's the most important aspect. So for me, what I've learned over time, if I can just frame it simply, is that I've fallen in love with ideas instead of people.
Mhm.
And that's where I've had the most challenges. And so over time, I've learned that if you find the right people and back the right people, you're going to find success, regardless of what it is you're working on.
Yeah, and then so Sean, in your first venture, were you lucky that you find the right people,
Um,
or you
yeah,
just
to
deal
a
with
degree.
it, and then the next one you find a better team
No. I
and the
mean,
better team, or you just got lucky, or what happened?
no. We found the right people with the right technology at the right time. Um,
Hmm.
would I say that that team was um, equipped to scale the business? No, but oftentimes very successful entrepreneurs recognize the stage that they're really good at. Like I'm great at the 0 to 1 stuff, right? I've learned that over time. And
This is
so
very difficult. This part, eh? Very difficult.
it's number one, it's the most difficult. Number two, most people aren't even aware it's a thing, but I call it stage relevant teams or stage relevant talent. There are people who are wired to be very good at 0 to 1. There are other people that are wired to be very good at 1 to 2, and then there are others that are wired to be very good at 2 to N. And when you recognize that and you put yourself in that kind of position, you can have a lot of fun and a lot of success. You're still going to fail. Entrepreneurship is just moving from one failure to the next with no loss of enthusiasm.
Mhm.
Um, but we got it to a place to where we could sell it to a public company and let them scale it, right? And
Mhm.
that's and I didn't know any of this at the time, but after 30 years of doing this, I've sort of built a mental model around the life cycle of a business um, and what I'm good at, and surround myself with people who are good at the other things. But at the end of the day, um, what I've become really good at is identifying the problem in the customer and figuring out a way to create a solution that creates value for everyone. Um, and that should be the focus.
Sean, but the 0 to 1 is the most challenging part, but also the most fun, right? Because you have to think how to penetrate that market, and the product is there, and you have to. So it's like a gym for your mind, right? It's really you have to think outside the box and
It is the most fun for people who,
understand it.
well, for people who are built for it, because, and you'll know if they're built
I
for it
understand
because they
100%.
love to embrace it. They love to embrace ambiguity. They love to create. They love to help others. They'll be singularly focused on that. They don't mind getting kicked in the teeth on a regular basis because that's what it is. It's challenging. Um, but you'll know if someone's suited for it based on how they react, not how they act, because
Mm.
they're going to just constantly be trying to push a boulder uphill. And like I said, most of them fail.
Yeah, some most of them cannot handle it, right? It's like a marathon, especially in tech, right?
Mhm.
Very competitive, but very profitable when things work out. So
Hmm.
and but at the end of the day, I will 100% agree with you. Some people are wired from 0 to 1, another one for 1 to 2, and we have to do what we enjoy, what we love, right? So
That's right.
what is the biggest challenge or the biggest setback in your professional career that you had in tech company, and how
Well,
you
Bernie,
overcome that?
yeah, I mean, I mean, without naming names
Of
or
course, yeah.
getting into too much detail, but um, it's two things. It's partnering with the wrong people,
Hmm.
uh, and then it's raising too much money too early,
Hmm.
um, can also be a problem, and
100%.
not delivering a return on that investment to the people who entrusted it with me, haunts me every day, right?
Mm.
And it will forever. Um, and I know it happens to almost everyone, but
Yeah,
it needs to happen to
I don't
people.
know anyone in this industry that doesn't have happen something similar like this. Yeah, it's very common.
Yeah, yeah. Entering a market where the regulatory environment made it very difficult to grow the business
Ah, wow, yeah.
which was not considered at the time, was also a massive challenge that I had in one situation. Not recognizing that
The
that
regulatory was way too much. Yeah.
that yes, that relationships matter more than transactions.
Mm.
um, those kinds of things, not setting the right expectations and not having the right people
Hmm.
um, at the right stage. Um, Also, being too early is very painful. I've been too early.
Oh yeah, expensive.
Um,
Being too early, huh?
it
Painful and
sucks because then you see 5 years later the thing that you came up with is now being adopted, and by then
and
it's over.
somebody's doing it better and faster and.
Or just somebody's not necessarily doing it better or faster. They're just doing it at the right time.
Hmm.
Um, and market timing is everything.
Oh, yeah.
Recognizing, the trends and being able to get on the wave early and ride that wave. That's a skill.
Tell me about being too early. I have a wonderful idea once here in London to open a halal Spanish tapas here in Brick Lane, right? And Brick Lane here in London is a street that
Mhm.
is full of curry houses, right?
I know it. I know it.
So,
My wife is from London. So
your wife from London. Okay, so when I opened the first restaurant in Brick Lane, completely different alternative food, Spanish tapas, all halal. I was the guy that have one thing different than everybody. And I remember the people who used to go to a restaurant and they would tell me, "Are you crazy? What are you doing here?" And I held the line for 2 years. At the end, but I lost, I think, around 200,000 pounds in that venture. But guess what happened? 2 years down the line, now ask your wife, 50% of Brick Lane is full of alternative food. So
I know.
I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
way too early. I think that after I
Yeah.
went there, people was waiting to say, let's see, Harry, how long it's gonna last. And
Yeah.
after he's go out, there you go, because you already paved the way, you already educated the clients, already.
So I'm glad you brought that up. And this isn't me being critical or saying you could have done it differently. And I'm certainly not trying to be an armchair quarterback. But um, uh, one great way to test that idea would have been to start with, say, a food cart.
Exactly, something small, yeah.
Lower cost, lower risk, determine whether or not people have interest in it, and build it from there, as opposed to going whole hog with a giant facility and just
100%.
assuming if I build it, people will come. I think that rule applies in anything, whether it's tech or it's restaurants or any of these.
And we do the same job. We'll educate the people and everything cost effective, right? Rather than have the big
Yep.
premises that I have. Remember, the freezer was the size of my living room. It was huge. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it will do the
If I
same
spent,
job like a small cart, like you say, right?
yeah.
And it will do the same job that I did. I will educate everyone with a small food cart, and then when everyone is
Hmm.
educated, yeah, I learned this lesson very painful.
And
Every
I
time
think
that somebody
that's
comes to
the
me that I have this unique idea, nobody have it, I'm terrified.
yeah. And again, when you apply it to technology, it's never been easier or cheaper to do what we call rapid experimentation, aka smoke testing of an idea before you invest anything in building it, right? Introduce the concept, understand how people react and respond to that concept. Through the course of that, you get the two things you need the most when you're learning, which is their time and their truth.
Yeah.
And when they're willing to give you their time and their truth to help uncover what the real root of the problem is, you have an opportunity now to go execute on solving it. But most people skip over that because they're in love with their own ideas, or they operate in a vacuum, or they just talk to people, that with bias, cognitive or otherwise, founder bias, as we call it. So they're asking the wrong questions, or they just talk to people who are friendlies, who don't want to tell them the truth if it hurts their feelings. It creates conflict or more work, and you've got to get past that.
Sharon, now tell us about your biggest win. What was that company or that bigger win? So probably, I mean, you have three exits, so and I guess that you have several wins in your career as an entrepreneur. But tell us a couple of bigger wins. What happened and how you feel after that? Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, I think a couple for different reasons. One was on the investor side, and one was on the operator side.
On the investor side, beautiful, right?
Yeah. On the operator side, building an enterprise talent acquisition platform. It took 5 years and just 3 customers to be able to build it to where we could sell it to a Fortune 20 company, which was great. And that was just focusing on 3 customers. And that I learned a lot from that, because we started with a few users and then we got to tens of thousands per customer. And that proved to the world what needed to be proved, which was this is a thing. These customers are big, strong brands, well respected in the market. And if they're using it, everybody else will use it. So that was great. On the investor side, it was recognizing that to add value and be a differentiated investor, we needed to be able to not just provide money to our companies, but also help in the form of our experience of being entrepreneurs that knew how to find product market fit. So building the product market fit accelerator, which is now being licensed all over the world to thousands of different accelerators as a program, was also big, because that's a great example of how you could leverage what we've learned over the years to help other entrepreneurs. And so I really love that. I get messages almost every day from strangers around the world saying, I've learned a lot from you and from your program. Thank you. It's been very helpful, that sort of thing. So I like that. I really enjoy that.
Can you please share with us a little bit about the accelerator? How does it work?
Yeah, it's just focused on helping companies, as I said, develop their markets, not their products. It's about finding product market fit, right? So it's about the method of what I alluded to earlier. And most of these folks already have an idea. So now you've got to match the idea or the product, to a big problem that exists, and or get them to pivot in a direction based on what you learn. So to me, it's all about, if you have a product, you have to find product market fit. So what does that mean? To me, the way I define product market fit is, can you get a statistically significant cohort or group of early customers that are willing to tell the world they're better off with you than without you, and why? And that's what you need in order to start being able to prepare yourself to scale a business. To me, that's the first milestone. So how do you get to that milestone? Well, you reverse engineer all of your time, money, resources, and expertise around that.
100%.
And don't worry about anything else. Stay exclusively focused on finding that cohort. If you're an enterprise business to business model, you may only need 2 or 3 customers, like my example. If you're a B2C company, maybe you need a few hundred. There's something in between there that shows a pattern that you can use to create referenceability, to show the world that you're worth investing in. And the reason this is so important is startup entrepreneurs don't recognize who they really are and how they're perceived by the market. I like to say that a startup is just a stranger in a strange place going to other strangers with a strange offering and asking them to do strange things together.
I love it.
So I think it's really important to have that mindset and recognize and apply a level of humility to say, okay, if I am perceived that way, how do I get someone's time and truth?
Hmm.
And so you don't do it by selling your idea or your product to somebody. You do it by recruiting early partners that share your vision for the future that doesn't exist today, understand your current reality, that you are new and you are risky and your product or solution isn't fully developed and whole yet, and are willing to go on that journey with you to realize that future. And then they have the power and influence and resources to give you the two things you need most, their time and their truth.
Hmm. And this is, Sean, what is extremely challenging because there are a lot of pros out there. There are a lot of tech entrepreneurs out there, and like I said, the is is more about having a code than having a technology. It's way a lot more goes into the equation in order to actually make it successful. And it's all these, like you talk about, product market fit, strategy, find the right people that can find the right partner that can make, like you said, go into this journey together with you. And yeah, a lot of time, resources, and energy. I agree with you. Should be, like you said, 100% heading in that direction. So,
Well, these people need to recognize that no one cares about them or their products. They care about themselves and their problems. And so you have to change your mindset and be exclusively focused on how do I establish a connection and a rapport and demonstrate a hypothesis of value that they're willing to listen to and engage with me to get their time and their truth to determine, to validate that hypothesis, or at least start working on it together. That's the most difficult thing.
hmm, challenging. And then, Sean, the question that everybody is waiting, every single tech entrepreneur listening or watching this podcast to our social media channels, this is the question that everybody want to hear, right? In your opinion, what are the 5 steps that every tech entrepreneur can do in order to achieve the first million, which is equals to get the product market fit, right?
Yeah, so I think about it, it starts with mindset, right? Recognize that you don't know what you don't know, and that you want to be a learn it all instead of a know it all, and that you have a hypothesis that you need to test with an initial customer profile, which is different than your long term profile. Who your customers in 5 years could be very different than who your customer is going to be now.
Today, yeah.
Because again, you are an incomplete stranger that's very risky. So the kinds of people and the psychology of the people that are willing to give you your time and truth and take the risk at this stage is a different individual psychology than what you recognize. Like Jeffrey Moore in Crossing the Chasm calls them innovators and early adopters, and they represent about 15% of the market.
Wow.
And those are the people you need to focus on. Innovators will give you great feedback on your product, but they won't be loyal long term because they like the next bright, shiny object and they'll move on. But they're very useful in the beginning. And then the early adopters are the ones that are going to carry you to product market fit and scale. Those are the people who, again, share your vision, understand your current reality, and have the power, budget, and authority and a strategic purpose for working with you. Those are the people that are going to carry you through. So recognize that, number one, mindset. Next thing is skill set. You have to have that stage relevant DNA in your team. You need to be, as a founder or co-founders, you need to go get that first cohort of customers on your own. Don't rely on others. That tells me so much about you if you're able to do that from an investment perspective. So if you're a product founder who doesn't like to talk to humans, you need a co-founder that does. A stage relevant co-founder who has experience in going from 0 to 1. and let them do all of that work and let them tell you the journey that you need to take the product on based on the conversations they're having with that early cohort. So that's the skill set. And then execution. Everything's about focused execution. You have limited time, money, and resources to find your truth about where your product fits in the market, if it does at all, and what to do about it. So everything should be focused on what we talked about earlier, that 80-20 rule, 80% of your time trying to secure that early cohort of customers and then building a solution based on that in a very iterative and rapid fashion as cheaply as you can, because the resources don't last as long as you think. And then after that, it's all about value creation. What are the metrics that matter, and how do you measure things together with those early customers once you have them? And they need to be mutually agreed upon. What's the job they're asking you to do? What's the pain associated with that job today? What are you claiming they will gain by working with you? And then how are you going to measure that? And you have to do that for every user and or buyer and or customer. Whether that's one account with 5 people, they all have their own perspective, right? Or it's 5 individuals, they all have their own perspective. So you have to clearly define that, and then you have to focus on making sure that you can achieve and validate those things. And then that's how you get to referenceability, which is the ultimate goal. You need to have people who will tell the world, as I said, that you're awesome, because they don't want to hear it from you. Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room.
100%.
And
Yeah.
carries a lot more weight. And that should be your exclusive focus.
Okay, Sean, what is your view in AI? Because what I notice about the tech industry is like what is fancy, right? Before was the metaverse, now it's AI,
Yeah.
and it seems like it's always a new thing, right? But what is your view in product? Because now it's the word out there that if your product doesn't have anything related with AI, you have nothing, right? Some
It's the
some
biggest.
people have that opinion. I heard that a lot in the space. When you go with the
Yeah,
product
look,
and doesn't
yeah,
have
there's a lot.
AI, they don't want to hear about it because no, any investor won't look at it because it doesn't have AI and things like this. So tell us the truth. What is it?
Well, look, I've been in this for 30 years and I've seen every hype cycle under the sun. And I can tell you that this is the biggest step change since the Industrial Revolution. And I'm not
Oh,
underselling.
really? Oh, wow.
This is the next Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution replaced muscle power with mechanical power. The AI revolution is going to replace brain power with compute power.
Wow.
And it's already happening. This isn't like the .com turned .bomb and then it comes back thing, right?
It's a different ball game, yeah?
This is immediately being adopted in small, safe use cases across the globe by people who aren't afraid. And it's dramatically improving human productivity, reducing costs, increasing profits, helping people in myriad of ways, whether it's personal, professional, or anything else in between. And I'm seeing it. I own a large global management consulting company. We build startups. Historically, it would take 6 to 9 months and maybe $1 million or $2 to get something into the market.
Mm-hmm.
Now, leveraging AI in an AI platform that we built called Fifth Row, we've automated 40% of our consulting work.
Wow.
We can now get a product to market for 90% less money and 80% complete, 10 times faster and cheaper than ever before. And we've only had this product in market for a year.
Wow.
We started working on it 2 years ago. And the rate and pace at which it's advancing and the value it's creating inside of large enterprises is staggering. It's one of the fastest growing tech plays that I've ever been a part of, because it just works and it does it quickly and effectively. You still have to have smart people on the back end, architecting it, selecting the right LLMs, stitching together the right components. But anywhere where you need to consume massive amounts and process massive amounts of data and then generate summarized, validated insights around it so you can make actionable, creative decisions, AI is already there. It's already there, and it's going to continue to be there. I'm very, very bullish on it. I haven't been bullish on anything like this since the cloud. And even the cloud took 10, 15 years to truly adopt. This is going to be adopted much faster.
Mm.
Um, but 10 years from now, most of our lives will be supported by AI. If they aren't already. I mean, they are to a certain degree. We're using Siri and we're using Alexa and we're using a lot of different things to help us and assist us. The most important thing is to recognize it for what it is. It should be an assistant. Don't jump to the media fear mongering of you've given up complete agency and then the AI and the robots are going to run the world and eventually destroy us all stuff. That's nonsense. What is real is you can use it as an assistant today.
Hmm.
If it to even simplify it further, AI as a research tool or a query tool, i.e., ChatGPT-4 or Gemini or Bard or whatever you want to use, is just an advanced version of Google. It's just going to give you more information than Google's giving you today. And it's going to get you a little further along the way. Don't be afraid to play with it. Don't be afraid to learn how to interact with it. Identify places in your life where you can dramatically improve productivity tomorrow if you leveraged AI in this way. So I'm a big fan. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we're even using it, and it's incredible. Like letters, when you have to write letters to clients, to customers,
Sure.
to this, to that. Oh my God, you just type the thing. Can you please write this letter? I need blah blah. You press a button. Trrr.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. Do you remember how long you used to take that to do? Love
I
that.
know. I
Oh
know. Right.
God, it's unbelievable. And so then, Sean, the word out there that I've been hearing, yeah, because here in London is like all the investors, all the tech, everybody, what they say, okay, if you have the product and it's not linked with AI or something, don't even take it because the investors are not even looking at it. It's because that's the future, right? And every
Yeah.
technology that is out there somehow, right? If you're using any form of AI, this is the future. And like you said, this is not a .com or people are taking lighting, like, this is could be the metaverse or the .com or the blockchain or the every time something
Yeah.
new comes and it's by cycles up and down. The AI thing is not a
Well, the
cycle that
difference
go
is
up
is
and down. Yeah, what's the difference? Tell us.
the difference is the practical application of the technology. We
Hmm.
live in the age of applied technology, not developed technology, where it's never been easier and cheaper to apply existing technologies to advance human performance. And AI is a perfect example of that. You just laid out a very simple use case about how you're using it to help you write better. Okay. There's use cases for helping you become more educated and develop yourself as a person. There's use cases for doing tasks, repetitive tasks, just like mechanical power did to replace muscle power in the Industrial Revolution,
Hmm.
that are easy to implement today and dramatically improve your
Hmm.
productivity.
Hmm.
And so that's why it's different.
Yeah.
People don't understand blockchain and how to practically apply it, right? Or crypto or machine learning or a lot of these things, right? And certainly the consumer doesn't understand.
Hmm.
And you have to get the consumer along. You can't just be smart tech people figuring this stuff out. The consumers
Hmm.
have to adopt it because otherwise it doesn't work. And we're adopting it at a rapid pace and we'll continue to.
Yeah, yeah. And it's very impressive, Sean, that you guys managed to, by using AI, automatize 40% of this process to get the product market fit. This is very, very impressive. So
And
what you guys this
we're only a year in. I mean,
wow.
the future is right in front of us. It's not going to be equally distributed because people still are people, but the opportunities are there to
Mm.
automate 80% of it.
Yeah, and this is the issue what I find, right? Because you guys, because you have a lot of experience and you have a lot of knowledge, because the AI is very good, but as I understand, it had to have a solid, truthful database to learn from. If it's
Data
learning from,
integrity is everything, which is why you will always need trusted humans in the loop. So
because it
it's
had
not
to
going.
learn from it had to
Yes.
learn from that database, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm not a fan of full agency until you've created a situation where you can trust and verify that full agency. Until
Be-
then,
Hmm.
it's trust but verify. So you have to have smart, creative, critical thinking people who can validate everything that the AI is doing and producing along the way. It's
So it
like,
can learn properly, right?
yeah, it's like when elevators were first invented, you needed a bellhop in there to operate the elevator.
Hmm.
Today, you don't need any of that. But with AI today, you do need that elevator operator because it's not all the way to where it's going needs to be, and it probably never will be ultimately. But you do need people that know how to manage, operate, control, and optimize the outputs of the AI
Hmm.
um, before you just take it as gospel.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's I think that because it's learning, right? If it's learning for the right from the right people, it's gonna learn a lot of faster and gonna make a huge improvement by if it's right learning from the wrong database, from the wrong truth, like you said, maybe the result cannot be so positive. So I think that some people are telling that they should be training the AI to learn the good and the bad. What do you think about that? Like
Yeah.
humans, for example, we know
Well,
what is
yeah.
good, what is bad, and we think,
Well,
and then we take our own decisions. What do you think
it's
about
just
that?
like it's just like good parenting. You have to teach your kids that there's both good and evil in the world, and that everybody has a capacity for evil. The key is to recognize it, know when it's around, and then learn how to manage it and prevent yourself from doing evil. But you can't put your head in the sand and pretend like there's no evil.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, you
Great
have to
analogy,
use.
like a parent, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sean. And with that note, any last message that you want to give to every tech entrepreneurs out there?
No, just
Apart that go and find you, and so that you can help them out with your
yeah,
accelerator.
they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter at Sean A. Sheppard. They can reach out, reference the podcast. I'll be happy to connect. But this was a pleasure, and I hope some people get some value from it.
Thank you so much. Powerful message for the tech startups, entrepreneurs out there that they are suffering and want the product to get market fit very quickly. What's the advice you had for them? Last message.
Traction speaks louder than words.
Okay, thank you so much. And for all of you watching and listening to this podcast, how successful entrepreneur break through and manage to achieve the first million in sales. See you on our last podcast. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.